In the first step of this video, we're going to use Vertus Fluid Mask to cut this image here out and just remove it from the background back in here. So we're going to run Fluid Mask. It's a Photoshop plugin. Got a hotkey set up for it. It's going to find the edges of the image, and then it's going to show the edges of it. It'll be just some layout where it thinks edges are here. We're going to take this delete brush here and we're just going to wipe it across the background. Get these areas here like this. Really quick, that gets the edges of it. So we got pretty much all the edges there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a cutout. Take a look at what it looks like. And it looks pretty good. We got one little edge over here, maybe like this, that's a little bit poking out over here on the side. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go back to the workspace, and then we're just going to take the delete brush and we're just going to kind of wipe it along the edge up there like that. We're going to do the cutout again. We're going to use the hotkey Control U. You see, that looks pretty good for the cutout overall there. So what we do is we're just going to go save and apply. What I'm going to do now is, even though this is a 200 ISO image, we've still got some noise down here, especially around the areas of the legs and all, and we want to blow this up some. So we got some color noise that's floating around in here. We want to get rid of it. We want to make the image just as clean and as pristine as possible, and there's some color stuff that's down around the shadow areas here. So what we're going to do is we're going to run NoiseWare on the image to start with, and we're just going to leave it to default settings. We'll take a look at it here. It does a really good job of cleaning up the areas. Also, it does a good job of up in here where you see the edges of the image are, where the cutout's been at. There's little noisy areas there just in the gradient. It's normal when you do any kind of a cutout. And so it also helps clean those edges up when it comes around in here. It does a really nice job of, just real subtle job of cleaning those edges up and giving an even nice cleaner feather on it. So we're going to apply it. And now we're also going to run our Portraiture plugin on here. We're going to zoom in here, and we're going to see about getting just a little bit of contrast here, kind of a little shadowy contrast in here. I had already run this previously, so I basically just came over and clicked on the areas around here on the face like this to select that outside area there. Then I used our new brightness and contrast controls that are available on the Use Mask in Portraiture version 2, so that I could get this kind of really nice contrasty look there, like a little shadow in there, because when I blend it in on the other image, you'll see why I do this. Plus it does a really good job also of going ahead and smoothing the skin out as well. So I'm kind of giving it a little contrast there, a little darker looking light in there, smooth the skin out some. Click OK to apply that. Now we're going to take this cutout we made with Fluid Mask from Vertus, and then we also applied Imagenomics NoiseWare plugin and also the Portraiture plugin to it to give it a little contrast, smooth the skin, and then remove some of the color noise in it. We're just going to copy this. With a Mac, it's Command A, PC Control A. That selects a whole image. And we're going to paste it, Control V on the PC, Command V on the Mac. And now we're going to use the Transform tool, which would be Control T on the PC or Command T on the Mac. And once that comes up, we're going to just scale it down here enough to where it's fitting into the image, okay? Move it around, that looks good. Press Enter to apply the transform. Now we're going to change that layer blend mode to lighter color. And the reason we're doing that is we're going to allow some of the lighter colors of the background image to show through here, and this will give us the ability to get an idea about what's going on when we want to start bringing these leaves in. But what we're going to do now is we want to bring some of these leaves into the image. And the way that we're going to do that, we could do some complex masking. There's a lot of ways we're doing it. But one of the very simplest ways is to select the eraser tool. That's the E, or else you can click over here. We're going to give it an opacity up in the 20s. And I'm going to bring the size of the brush down, and I'm going to come over and I'm going to start brushing in some of the areas over here where some leaves are at. And as I brush them in, you'll see it looks almost like shadows are coming down in there, which is what we want to accomplish. All we're doing here is we're just erasing that top layer with Brady on it on the cutout, and we're allowing that background to show through in there. And as we allow that background to show through there, we just use nice easy brush strokes on there. We're building it up and we're giving it a realistic look there. So it looks like the leaves are actually building themselves right there on top of that deck part. And that's the whole idea here. We don't want it to look like it's just kind of sitting out there and nothing. I'm going to bring the brush up and just a couple little simple wipes across the bottom to give it a little bit more contrast. Bring it back here. I'm going to bring these leaves in this area back in a little bit more. As you can see, that contrast in that background is coming in there, and it looks just like there is shadows underneath those leaves, and that's basically what we want to accomplish. I bring it up under the edges there. I'm just bringing that dark background in there. Then back over here a little bit more, bringing in some more of these leaves. And it's not really necessary that you get real exact on it, because as it blends in, it just looks like the leaves are really attached to the wood there themselves. And the whole purpose is just to give it that kind of really easy rustic look. Just a couple of odd dabs in there to bring in a little bit more contrast on it. And now we've got a look there really almost like there's sun coming in. We've got some leaves, got some shadow coming in there, starting to look more realistic. What we want to do now, we've got a couple little places here that are kind of showing through on there from the lighter color, so we can go to that background and we can turn the foreground off. And that's basically that area right in there. So I can just use the clone tool on it and bring some areas up in here to just swap out that light part there. So when I bring that back on top, you notice it's missing in there now. And that's what was causing that. The lighter areas, because we have it set, the layer blend mode set to lighter color. Now we're going to select this top layer again, and we're going to use the burn tool. And we're just going to run across the top of the image and some random areas on the image to kind of burn a little bit, and looks almost like there's some leaves and dappled sunlight coming in there. Bring it up and give it a little bit softer areas, especially come across the top of this head there on the edges some. Kind of tone down that really bright hair. Come in here and blend these areas in a little bit. Same way, just wiping that brush really fast. And then you've got this look of where it's like sunlight's coming down in there through the trees. Leaving some dappled areas. Bring around some more around these edges a little bit. There's not any exact way of doing this. It's just suit to taste. And you can see now it's starting to get more really realistic look there to it. So what we're going to do as the last thing here is we're going to turn off this top layer. We're going to look at this background layer, zoom in on it a little bit, and we've got some noise in there. This was shot at 400 ISO. We've got some noise floating around in there in various areas. And what we want to do is we want to try to clean this image up as much as possible, because we're going to do a big print with it. So we're going to run NoiseWare in default mode. Once again, in default mode, NoiseWare works really good on removing noise and retaining detail in the image. We're going to click OK. And zoom back out here. Turn on that top layer, and as you can see, we've got a really nice easy look to this whole image here, just from a cutout using Vertus Fluid Mask, and then just using our plugins to apply some cleaning and some nice contrast to the edges and all, and we end up with an image that would print really nice at 20 by 30 with no problems. What we're going to do now is we're just going to show you the other Imagenomic plugin called Real Grain, which does black and white and grain simulations along with a multitude of tonal variations. I'm going to run the plugin. We run the whole demo here on a 16-bit ProPhoto image, and it's a fairly good sized image. It's not a really small image, so everything that's done on here is being done in real time on large images. Basically, Real Grain allows you an unlimited way to simulate various types of grain aspects out there. It's not something that you just limit yourself to saying, okay, I want this specific type of black and white film and I want it to look like this. Real Grain gives you the ability to create any type of a look you want. And even if you don't want the grain, you don't really care about it, you can just turn the grain values off. You can come in with the tint and toning areas. You've got a lot of different presets that are made into here. Plus you can control them to your heart's content. The sliders give you a tremendous amount of power. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you some of the custom presets that we've made up for demos, just to show you and kind of flip down through some of them. And some of them are going to look pretty cool on here. Some of them may look rather bland or even rather odd, but that's because the presets have have been made to cover a lot of different images. So we're just going to flip down them, just rolling the mouse wheel down here on the PC. Kind of give you an idea about what's going on with some of the tonal variations as possible. There's some really slight, easy grain going on there, not a whole lot. Again, you can control the grain where you want it to go. And in a lot of cases with images, especially if you've had to do a lot of processing to them, the grain values there just give it a little bit of realistic look to it that kind of loses it when you have to do a lot of processing to images. And then I'm going to apply this. And then we have a nice little tonal variation there on the original image, and once again it gives your clients choices. You can go through there and flip through custom presets really fast, something that catches their eye and they may want a little bit more color, a little bit less. There's something real easy to do with these type of presets like that. Trying to go through there and have all these different looks in Photoshop with some kind of action or a whole bunch of different layers you're having to turn off can be a real pain in the neck when you're trying to be productive and show people a lot of options. So the plugins give the photographer a lot of options as far as showing to the client, plus it gives the client a lot of choice. And out there in today's world, that's what we found that more and more people are looking for. They're looking for more choice, and then the photographer themselves wants something that's fast, efficient. It doesn't really mess with the original data on there. It keeps it as pristine as possible, plus it's very, very, very efficient in a professional-based workflow. And as always, if you have any questions about any of our plugins or any of the aspects of this demo here, just drop us an email at support@imagenomic.com. Thanks.